What are you doing? What are you going to be doing right now?
Cooking.
What are you cooking?
Food.
Well done, yes.
Pie.
You're going to bake a pie. Great.
Pie.
Hey, you're not even on camera anymore. How much have you had to drink?
Five? Where's my book? There it is. Wait. Did I put... Uh-oh. I don't know if I put my recipe... Oh, yes I did. Yes I did. Books. They're magic. Pie crust mix. What kind of bullshit is this? Where's the other recipe? Where is the other thing?
What do you need?
The pie crust recipe.
America's Test Kitchen book?
We'll make it up as we go. We need flour, and we need fat in a can, and I think there's salt, right? Salt.
The crust recipe's really not in here?
I don't think so. Maybe it's in the America's Test Kitchen book. Where's that?
That's what I just said.
Where's that? Get that. I don't remember it. So this is Crisco. It's fat in a can, pretty much. I guess you could eat it if you wanted to, but then you'd be fat. Measuring spoons are good. They let you know how much shit you're putting in shit. Hey, yes, we found it. Okay, so this thing tells me how much shit to put in the shit.
So it's a measuring spoon?
Where is... No, I don't need that yet. Where's the other thing? Okay. We're going to get this out of here because we don't need it. I've got a thing that you roll pie crust out on, but I don't know where the hell it is. No one knows where it is. So we're just going to use the counter. This thing is so that you don't have to roll pie crust out on nasty friggin' countertop because this kitchen is depressing. Also, it has dimensions. Also, it's a little melted because I left it on the stove one time. Oops. I need tape. Yeah, this works like tape. Ta-da. Okay. I need a bowl. Here's 2 bowls. So this one is circled, so I'm pretty sure that's what we use. The first thing a pie needs is a crust, because otherwise it's just glop in a pan. Crust. You start with... That's not flour, that's sugar. And I guess using sugar instead of flour would make it really sweet, but probably not hold together real well. We need 1 1/3 cups of flour. Here's a cup. It's a cup because it says it's a cup. Now, when you're making crust, it needs to be real specific. So there's a cup. We need 1 1/3. Hey, look at that. This is 1/3. And the knife kind of packs it down so you don't have air in there, because air is not flour. So there's 1 1/3 cups of flour. We need some salt, because everything needs salt. We want 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I think most of that is going in the sink. Salt. 1/2 cup of shortening, fat in a can. Oh, where'd I put that knife? So this stuff is basically the worst thing ever, but it makes things tasty. Unless you're a vegan, in which case you would probably not use it.
Is that an animal product?
Yes.
What does it come from?
Animals. Actually, you know what? Come to think of it, I think Crisco is vegetable shortening, so it's not from animals, so I guess vegans could use it. It's basically fat in a can. There's a cup. Ish. No, excuse me, 1/2 cup. 1/2 cup shortening. Yes! Wow, Crisco tastes not good by itself. And then, some cold water. Not hot. Because hot water is... I don't know why you don't use hot water, but you don't. 3 tablespoons of cold water. It makes things not be powder, because powder is not good for crust. Probably good if you're making cocaine, but we're not. So there's 3.
Do you have a drink to drink while you're making this?
Ooh, I should. This is how you make a really cheatery ass margarita. You take one of these and pour it in there, and I forgot to put the salt on, so I guess there's not going to be any salt. And then the bottle says 2.5 of these, so sure, why not? Close enough. Okay, so. No, my thing is not here. Where is my thing? I have a thing, it's like a whole bunch of things in one. Okay, I don't know what the hell it is, so we're just going to kind of mash all this together until it's sort of one combined thing instead of a whole bunch of different things. Ooh, we forgot, we need to turn the oven on. It needs to get real hot. That's probably about good. So that's going to heat up while we're doing other stuff. And so you know, it's starting to look like a bunch of globs.
Can you move your margarita?
Oh, I can drink my margarita.
That was supposed to be for while
Yes.
you were making food.
I can make more. Now that it's kind of a bunch of globs, take my ring off so that it doesn't end up in the garbage disposal. Kind of take your hands, and we need to turn all the little globs into one great big glob. I'm not sure I mixed it enough because I don't have my mixing thing, but there it is. The glob. Oh. So we're making an apple pie. And an apple pie has a crust that goes in the pan and a crust that goes on the top. What we need to do, probably not that, and I'm not going to hold this in my hand because I'm drunk, is turn one glob into 2 globs. Because half of the crust, that's not mixed right there. Now it's mixed. We will use half of the crust to go in the pan and half of the crust to go on top so that the pie has a roof. Because, you know, otherwise it's kind of a hobo pie out in the weather. The homeless pies are shit. So now we gotta roll the crust out because this is not big enough to go in a pie tin. Unless you got a really small pie tin, I guess. But I don't. So we're going to use a regular one. And I think they're in here. Ow. Where are they? Maybe they're in here, but the thing is in the way. There they are. There they are. We could make a butt cake instead.
A butt cake.
Butt cake would not taste good. There we go. This is a pie crust and a pie crust thing. No, this is not a pie crust. This is a pie plate. And this is very important unless you don't have one, in which case it's not important at all. That thing makes it so that the edges of the crust do not burn. If you don't have one of those things, you can wrap the edge of the pie crust in tin foil. Ooh, we need a rolling pin. There's a rolling pin. You could beat somebody with it. Pie crust is sticky, so take some flour and dump it on the mat. Smear it around on the mat because flour is not sticky. You take your pie crust piece. Here, we'll move this out of the way. And we're gonna, ooh, that's moving around. And we're gonna kind of smoosh it around. And oh, actually, see it's stuck to the rolling pin. It's not supposed to do that. So take some more flour and smear it all over the rolling pin. That didn't smear real well, but there it is. And we're just gonna roll this thing out until, wow, it's really not rolling well. Roll out into a great big sheet of crust. Wow, this is not happening. Why is this not happening? So, okay, no, it's getting bigger. And the oven beeped because that's a thing. Probably means it's hot, but not in a sexual way. Okay, so now our blob has become a slightly bigger blob.
Instead of flouring the rolling pin, could you flour the dough itself?
I suppose. Let's see what happens. The flour just makes things not sticky. So yes you can, because that works. And we're just gonna squish this out until it gets real big, like that. And I use this. I don't know what the hell this thing is, but I use it as a pie crust destickerer. Even with the flour, the crust gets really stuck to the mat. Ooh, no, don't do that. You can use this thing to kind of scrape it off. See, sort of like that, except without all the tearing. It's not supposed to do that. Yeah, kind of like that. And then you take your pie plate and you lift your pie crust into it. It's not supposed to be in pieces, but okay, it's in pieces now. And then, you know, pretend it's not in pieces because it's sticky and it's not supposed to be. Well, it's kind of supposed to be sticky, but not this sticky. Okay, so that didn't work so well. Just to pretend it goes up over the sides. So there's a pie crust. Now we put the pie crust aside. Isn't that a glorious pie crust? We're done with the pie crust unstickerer. And this is brown sugar apple pie. Which is the best pie? First it says we need 1 package of pie crust mix, but screw that because pie crust mix is gross. I make my own and it's better. Then we need, I need a bowl. We want 1/2 cup of brown sugar is the first thing. That's not sugar. Well, it is sugar, but it's not the right sugar. Brown sugar, there we go. 1/2 cup. That's 1/3 of a cup. The crust has to be real specific. That's a 1/4 cup. But the filling, that's more of an art. So since a quarter is, no, quarters in 2 halves. A quarter is 1/2 of a half. So we're just going to do it twice. So there's a 1/4 cup. And there's another 1/4 cup. So that's 1/2 cup. We want 1/2 cup of regular sugar. Because I guess it can't all be brown sugar for some reason. Maybe it's too sticky. So there's 1/2 cup. Oh. Well, that's close enough. That's the 1/2 cup of regular sugar. And we want 2 tablespoons of flour. This tablespoon has oil in it. And now it doesn't. There's 1 tablespoon. And there's 2 tablespoons. And then we want cinnamon. And that's red pepper, that's not cinnamon. Here's cinnamon. 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, not a tablespoon. They're not the same thing. Here's 1/2 teaspoon. And 1/2 plus 1/4 is 3/4, because math says so. half a teaspoon of nutmeg. If you eat a whole shit ton of nutmeg, apparently it's a hallucinogen. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Where'd the salt go? There's the salt. How the hell they expect you to measure 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt? I don't know. No spoon set I've ever seen has 1/8 of a teaspoon. Just kind of eyeball it. So there's that. Precision is very important with the crust. If you don't get the crust right, it's bad. With the filling, it's not as important because you can fill it with whatever the hell you think is tasty. Like here's some honey, why the hell not? And then we need a whole bunch of apples because this is an apple pie, and if you make an apple pie with no apples, people are going to be disappointed. Apples. They're Braeburn apples. I like Braeburn apples because they taste good. If you use apples that are... Pies need sweet and tart, and I'm peeling the labels off of these because you don't want to bake the labels. This is an apple slicer. And I'm going to use this so that I don't have to use a knife because I'm drunk. So, oh, wait, am I supposed to peel the apples? That's for peeling cheese. There we go, old Rusty. You can buy these, I don't know, at the store, I guess. I guess you could peel just about anything with it. And wow, it's not peeling real well. So we're going to peel the peel off. Try not to take too much of the rest of the apple. You don't even really have to peel the apple if you don't want to. If you like the peel, you could put it in the pie. See, it also works as a stabbing implement. If you were in prison, you could shank somebody. So you should probably do this on a cutting board instead of on your countertop. Hey look, the apple is cut into pieces. Oh, wait. I don't want to put it in there yet. I need 6 cups of apples. So, we want them into slices, but not too small, because if they're too small, they'll just turn into mush. And you don't want the core, because who likes apple core? Nobody wants to. It looks to me like 1 apple is about 1 cup. So there's a cup of apples. 6 apples. Make 6 cups. This is an extra apple. Screw it. So we're going to experiment and not peel these apples, because the apple peel is not poisonous. Technically the seeds are, because they've got cyanide in them. So we're just going to cut a whole bunch of these. See, there's a seed. You don't want the seed. That's got cyanide. Or is that peaches? Maybe it's both. I should wash that because it went on the floor.
You mean the way you washed the first apple that went on the floor?
Yes. There's a whole bunch of apples. Or 6. Alright, so now that we got the sugar, the flour, the cinnamon, the nutmeg and the salt, we're going to add the apples. Which we have done. So we want to toss it to get all that other stuff coated all over the apples. If you have a bowl that's not quite big enough to toss the apples and the other stuff in, here's what I do. You take a clean dish towel. So it's kind of like a lid for a bowl that doesn't have a lid. And then you shake it. That has cat hair on it, but that one doesn't. Don't let them fall on the ground. Oh, there's another one. And just shake it up, shake it up. Shake it like you're a really bad person and it's annoying you. So, now we have apples coated with stuff. This is our filling. We're going to take our pie crust. You're going to take your filling. And you're going to dump it in your pan. Now, we take the other half of the pie crust. Anti-stick. working a lot better than the last time for some reason. And I'm just making it real big and real thin. There it is. And you're supposed to roll it out until it's as big as the pie crust. Or, no, it is pie crust. Until it's as big as the pie pan. Now we're going to unstick it. So you can roll it up on the rolling pin and then unroll it on the pie. So, what you're supposed to do is, because the crust is the bottom part is supposed to come out to the edges, what you're supposed to do to make sure that the two pieces stick together is you're supposed to kind of squish them together around the edge of the pie. But I don't like to use my thumb because that's kind of gross. So I use a fork. Stay there. Go all the way around the edges with the fork or your thumb if you're gross. And kind of squish the two pieces together. It makes a pretty little pattern and it makes it less likely the juices will all gush out and make your oven a mess.
Do you have any advice for people who don't have crust around the edge of their pie?
God will help if he wants to. Then you're supposed to cut some slits in the middle of the top so that the steam has somewhere to escape. I don't think that's going to be an issue with this particular pie, but there.
I've been holding it together pretty well.
But there you go. If there's like extra crust, like globbing over the edges, which again is not a big issue with this particular pie, you take some scissors and you cut the extra crust off. Well, like I was talking about earlier, this thing is really hot because it's been sitting on the stove. This actually came with that pie tin when I bought it because this is fancy. But this is meant to go along the edges. And it helps to keep the edges of the pie crust from burning. I need another drink. That was 90% salt. This is apple cider. Lemongrass apple cider. Okay, what they tell you to do now is brush some egg yolk all over the top of the crust because it makes it all pretty and golden when it comes out of the oven. I don't do that because I think it's silly and the crust comes out fine anyway and it tastes the same, so I don't do that. Well, I guess if you wanted to, you could stick an egg on there. Hannah will be mad. Also, this egg is now sugary. Now we put it in the oven. 425 degrees. So now it goes in there, and we bake it for, wow, sugar is slippery on the floor, for about 45 minutes. 50 minutes, close enough. And then it's gonna heat, and it's gonna become less of a pile of crap and more of a pile of deliciousness, and then we're going to eat it.
So what are we going to do in the meantime?
Oh, pie's always better when you're drunk. Oh, pie's always better when you're drunk. Come back here. Because the drunk makes things taste. Now the pie is done. Hey look, I did not burn the shit out of myself. And Now there's pie. You should probably let it cool so you do not burn yourself.
That tastes pretty good.